My dear brothers and sisters, if you watch this and do nothing, 2026 will disappear just like every other year. Time is one of the most precious gifts given to a human being, yet it is often treated as if it is endless and inexpensive. People guard their money, their possessions, and their status, but allow their hours and days to slip away without thought. This happens because time is invisible. You cannot see it piling up or running out, yet it is constantly moving. Every second that passes is a second you will never get back. When you understand that time is a trust, your relationship with life changes. You stop seeing time as something you kill or pass, and you begin to see it as something you are responsible for. A trust is something placed in your care, not something you own outright. It must be protected, used wisely, and eventually accounted for. Time is exactly that. You did not create it, you cannot stop it, and you cannot extend it beyond what has been written for you. You were given a certain amount of it, and every day you are quietly spending from that balance. Whether you use it well or waste it, the balance keeps decreasing. This reality alone should awaken a sense of seriousness within a person, because no one knows when their account will reach zero. Many people live as though tomorrow is guaranteed. They delay important changes, postpone growth, and push meaningful actions into the future. They assume there will always be another year, another chance, another opportunity. But life does not operate on assumptions. Every day people leave this world with unfinished plans and unspoken intentions. They were not waiting to fail, they were waiting to begin. Understanding time as a trust removes this false sense of security. It reminds you that the present moment is not something to casually step over on your way to the future. It is the only moment you are certain you have. When time is treated lightly, it loses its value. Hours disappear into distractions that leave no trace in the heart or mind. At the end of the day, a person feels tired but empty, busy but unfulfilled. This exhaustion is not always from hard work. It is often from wasted effort. A life filled with noise, entertainment, and constant activity can still be a life where time is squandered. But when time is recognized as a trust, even rest becomes intentional. Even silence becomes meaningful. Every choice begins to matter. Time as a trust also introduces accountability. One day you will reflect on how you spent your youth, your strength, your opportunities, and your health. These things do not disappear suddenly. They fade slowly, often without warning. Youth turns into age, energy turns into fatigue, and chances turn into memories. People often regret not the things they did, but the things they never started. This regret is born from misusing time, from assuming it would always be available later. Seeing time as a trust encourages a person to act before regret has a chance to grow. Every morning you wake up is a renewal of that trust. You are given another set of hours and asked, without words, what you will do with them. Some people spend those hours complaining about what they lack. Others spend them comparing themselves to others. And some spend them building, learning, improving, and serving. The difference between these people is not talent or luck, it is awareness. Those who value time understand that every day is a silent opportunity to move closer to who they are meant to be. When a person truly understands the value of time, priorities shift. Things that once seemed urgent lose their grip, and things that truly matter rise to the surface. Meaningful relationships are given attention. Personal growth becomes non-negotiable. Harmful habits are questioned, not excused. This does not mean life becomes rigid or joyless. On the contrary, it becomes richer. Joy feels deeper when it is intentional, and peace feels stronger when time is not wasted on guilt and procrastination. Time as a trust also teaches humility. It reminds you that you are not in control of everything. You cannot pause life when you feel unready, and you cannot rewind it when you make mistakes. This awareness encourages mindfulness. You begin to live more fully in the present, appreciating moments that once went unnoticed. Conversations feel more valuable. Opportunities feel more serious. Even challenges feel purposeful because they are part of the limited time you have to grow. Many people chase success without realizing that success itself is measured in time. Skills take time to build. Character takes time to form. Wisdom takes time to mature. When time is wasted, these things remain underdeveloped. But when time is invested wisely, progress becomes inevitable. Even small efforts, repeated daily, gain power simply because time is working with you instead of against you. Another powerful effect of seeing time as a trust is that it strengthens discipline. Discipline is not about being harsh with yourself. It is about respecting the gift you have been given. It is choosing long-term benefit over short-term comfort. It is understanding that every unnecessary delay costs something, even if that cost is invisible at first. Discipline grows when you realize that wasting time is not neutral. It is a loss that cannot be recovered. Ultimately, time reveals truth. It exposes what you truly value, not what you claim to value. You may say growth is important, but your daily actions will show whether that is true. You may say faith, family, or purpose matters, but how you spend your hours will confirm or contradict those words. Time does not lie. It records quietly and continuously, shaping your life in the direction of your habits. When you recognize time as a trust, life becomes intentional. You stop drifting and start choosing. You stop waiting for motivation and start honoring responsibility. You stop assuming you have forever and start acting as if every day matters, because it does. Most people do not consciously decide to waste their lives. It happens slowly, almost invisibly, as they fall into patterns that feel normal and safe. This is what it means to live on autopilot. Days begin to blend together, routines repeat without reflection, and life becomes something that happens to a person rather than something they actively shape. When someone is on autopilot, they may be busy all the time, yet they are not truly moving forward. Activity replaces progress, and comfort replaces purpose. Autopilot living often starts with small compromises. Skipping effort once does not seem harmful. Choosing convenience over discipline feels harmless in the moment. Over time, these choices form habits, and habits form a lifestyle. The danger is that autopilot removes awareness. A person stops asking important questions, like why they are doing what they are doing, where their life is heading, or whether their actions align with their values. Without these questions, direction is lost, even if the person appears successful on the surface. Distractions play a central role in keeping people stuck in this state. Modern life is full of noise, stimulation, and constant input. Endless scrolling, non-stop entertainment, and shallow engagement consume hours while providing little nourishment to the mind or soul. These distractions are designed to capture attention, and when attention is constantly pulled outward, there is no space left for reflection. Autopilot thrives when a person is always distracted. Or's distraction prevents self-awareness. Excuses also become more convincing on autopilot. People tell themselves they are too busy, too tired, or too overwhelmed to change. They believe their situation is unique, their problems are too complicated, or their timing is not right. These excuses feel logical, but they quietly protect the status quo. Autopilot makes delay feel responsible and comfort feel earned. It whispers that growth can wait and that effort can begin later, even though later never truly arrives. Another danger of autopilot living is that it weakens personal responsibility. When life is lived unconsciously, blame is easily shifted outward. Circumstances, other people, or bad luck become the reason nothing changes. Instead of asking what can be done differently, a person asks why things are happening to them. This mindset removes power from the individual and places it in things they cannot control. As a result, frustration grows while progress stalls. Over time, autopilot dulls ambition. Dreams that once felt exciting begin to feel unrealistic or unnecessary. Goals are lowered to match comfort, not potential. People settle not because they have reached contentment, but because striving feels exhausting. This settling often disguises itself as acceptance or maturity, but deep down it is resignation. Autopilot convinces a person that this is just how life is, and questioning it feels pointless. The most dangerous part of autopilot is that it feels safe. There is no immediate risk, no sudden failure, no dramatic collapse. Life continues, bills get paid, and routines remain intact. But while nothing seems wrong, something essential is quietly fading. Growth slows, skills stagnate, character weakens through neglect, potential remains unused. Years pass without meaningful development, and because the decline is gradual, it often goes unnoticed until T is too late. Autopilot also affects relationships. When a person is mentally absent, even while physically present, connections become shallow. Conversations lose depth. Time spent with loved ones becomes routine rather than intentional. Moments that could have strengthened bonds pass by without impact. Later, people wonder why relationships feel distant, forgetting that closeness requires attention, and attention cannot exist on autopilot. Breaking free from autopilot requires discomfort. Awareness disrupts comfort because it forces honesty. It requires a person to look at their habits, routines, and excuses without justification. This moment of awareness can feel unsettling because it reveals wasted time and missed opportunities. However, this discomfort is necessary. Autopilot can only exist where awareness is absent. The moment you begin to question your patterns, autopilot starts to lose its control. Living consciously does not mean life becomes easy or perfect. It means choices are made intentionally rather than automatically. It means time is used with awareness rather than habit. It means a person accepts responsibility for their direction, even when the path is difficult. Autopilot offers comfort without growth, while conscious living offers growth with effort. Most people choose the first without realizing the cost. Those who choose the second do so because they refuse to let their lives pass without meaning. Many people overestimate what they can change in a single moment and underestimate what they can change through small, consistent actions. They wait for a powerful breakthrough, a surge of motivation, or a perfect opportunity that will suddenly transform their lives. When that moment does not come, they feel stuck and discouraged. The truth is that life is rarely changed by one dramatic decision. It is shaped quietly, day after day, by small acti. Ons that seem ordinary but carry enormous long-term weight. Every small action is a direction, not just an event. When repeated, it becomes a habit, and habits eventually define outcomes. A few minutes of effort invested daily may not feel impressive, but it builds momentum. Reading a few pages each day strengthens the mind. Practicing a skill briefly but consistently sharpens ability. Choosing discipline in small moments strengthens character. Over time, these actions compound, creating results that appear sudden to others but were built patiently and invisibly. Consistency matters more than intensity because intensity is difficult to sustain. Motivation rises and falls, but habits remain. When actions are small enough to be repeated daily, they do not rely on emotion. They become part of routine. And routine carries a person forward even on days when energy is low or enthusiasm is absent. This is how progress continues through difficult seasons. Those who rely only on motivation stop when motivation fades. Those who rely on consistency continue regardless of how they feel. Small daily actions also protect against overwhelm. Large goals can feel intimidating and distant, leading to procrastination. When the focus shifts to what can be done today, the burden becomes manageable. One small step reduces anxiety and builds confidence. Each completed action reinforces the belief that progress is possible. Over time, these small wins accumulate, replacing fear with momentum. Momentum then becomes a powerful force that makes further action easier. Another important aspect of daily actions is that they shape identity. What you repeatedly do influences how you see yourself. When you show up for yourself consistently, even in small ways, you begin to trust yourself more. Self-respect grows when promises to yourself are kept. On the other hand, repeatedly skipping commitment weakens confidence and reinforces self-doubt. Identity is not formed by what you intend to do, but by what you repeatedly do. Small actions also create flexibility. When progress depends on massive effort, setbacks feel devastating. Missing one intense session can derail everything. But when progress is built on small actions, missing one day does not destroy momentum. You simply return the next day. This resilience makes long-term growth possible. Life is unpredictable, and consistency allows adaptation without abandonment of goals. Many people dismiss small actions because results are not immediate. In a world that celebrates quick success, slow progress feels unsatisfying. However, meaningful growth often happens beneath the surface before it becomes visible. Just like roots growing underground before a plant appears above the soil, small daily actions build foundations. Those who quit early assume nothing is happening, not realizing that the most important work is taking place out of sight. Daily actions also sharpen focus. When you commit to a small practice, you develop awareness of how you spend your time. You begin to notice patterns, distractions, and inefficiencies. This awareness leads to better choices. Time stops feeling scattered and starts feeling structured. Even simple routines bring order to days that once felt chaotic. Another powerful benefit of small daily actions is that they reduce fear of failure. Large, high-pressure efforts make failure feel catastrophic. Small actions lower the emotional risk. Trying again feels easier because the cost of failure is small. This encourages experimentation and learning. Over time, skills improve naturally because practice is frequent and pressure is low. Consistency also teaches patience. Results arrive slowly and waiting becomes part of the process. This patience strengthens emotional control and long-term thinking. A person learns to value progress over perfection and effort over appearance. This mindset not only produces better results, but also creates inner stability. When small daily actions are aligned with purpose, they become powerful. Each action, no matter how simple, feels meaningful because it contributes to a larger direction. Days stop feeling wasted because something valuable is done, even if it is small. Over months and years, these actions shape the entire year, then a life. What seems insignificant in a single day becomes life-changing when repeated consistently over time. Without purpose, time slips away unnoticed. A person may stay busy from morning until night, moving from task to task, yet still feel empty at the end of the day. This is because activity without direction does not lead to fulfillment. Purpose is what gives meaning to effort and clarity to choices. It answers the silent question of why you are doing what you are doing. When purpose is missing, life becomes reactive. You respond to whatever appears in front of you instead of consciously choosing where to invest your energy and time. Purpose does not mean having every detail of life figured out. It means having a sense of direction that guides decisions. It is the inner compass that helps you distinguish between what is important and what is merely urgent. Without this compass, everything feels equally demanding and distractions easily take control. People end up spending years chasing things that do not satisfy them simply because they never paused long enough to ask what truly matters. When a person lives with purpose, even ordinary actions gain significance. Work is no longer just a way to pass the day, it becomes a means of growth, contribution, or responsibility. Struggles are no longer pointless, they become part of a journey. Purpose connects the present moment to a larger vision, making patience easier and sacrifice meaningful. Without it, effort feels heavy and motivation fades quickly. Many people confuse goals with purpose. Goals are specific outcomes, while purpose is the deeper reason behind those outcomes. Goals can change, fail, or be achieved, but purpose remains steady. When a goal is achieved without purpose, it often leaves a sense of emptiness. When a goal fails without purpose, it leads to discouragement. Purpose provides stability regardless of outcomes. It allows a person to adjust plans without losing direction. A lack of purpose often leads to comparison. When people do not know what they are working toward, they measure themselves against others. They chase what looks impressive rather than what is meaningful. This comparison creates anxiety and dissatisfaction because there will always be someone ahead. Purpose removes this pressure by anchoring a person in their own path. Progress becomes personal rather than competitive. Purpose also protects time. When you know what matters, you become selective. You begin to say no to things that drain you and yes to things that develop you. Time is no longer spent aimlessly, it is invested intentionally. Even rest becomes purposeful rather than an escape. You rest to regain strength, not to avoid responsibility. This balance prevents burnout while still maintaining progress. Another powerful effect of purpose is alignment. Many people experience inner conflict because their actions do not match their values. They know what is right, but they live differently. This misalignment creates guilt, frustration, and restlessness. Purpose helps close this gap. It encourages a person to live consistently with their beliefs. Over time, this alignment creates peace, self-respect, and clarity. Purpose also strengthens resilience. Life inevitably brings hardship, delay, and disappointment. Without purpose, these moments feel unbearable and meaningless. With purpose, difficulty becomes tolerable because it has context. Pain is still painful, but it is not pointless. Purpose reminds a person that challenges are part of growth, not evidence of failure. This understanding prevents quitting during difficult seasons. Living with purpose encourages long-term thinking. Short-term pleasure loses its control when weighed against long-term meaning. A person becomes more patient, more disciplined, and more thoughtful in decision-making. Choices are no longer driven solely by emotion or convenience, but by direction. This maturity develops gradually, but it transforms how time is used. Purpose also deepens relationships. When a person lives intentionally, they become more present. Conversations become more meaningful. Time spent with others becomes an investment rather than a habit. Purpose encourages serving others, contributing positively, and leaving a beneficial impact. Relationships stop being transactional and become sources of growth and connection. When purpose guides life, time feels different. Days feel fuller even if they are busy. There is a sense of movement rather than stagnation. Even when progress is slow, it feels worthwhile. Without purpose, time feels heavy and repetitive. With purpose, time feels valuable and alive. Ultimately, purpose gives direction to time. It transforms days from something to survive into something to use wisely. It does not remove struggle, but it gives struggle meaning. It does not guarantee ease, but it ensures that effort is not wasted. A life without purpose drifts. A life with purpose moves forward, one intentional choice at a time. One of the most dangerous habits a person can develop is the habit of waiting. Waiting to feel ready. Waiting to feel confident. Waiting for conditions to improve. Waiting for the perfect moment to begin. This waiting often disguises itself as patience or wisdom, but in reality it is fear wearing a reasonable mask. Life does not pause while you prepare yourself emotionally. Time continues to move forward, whether you act or not. Change that is delayed is rarely change that happens. The idea of a right moment is comforting because it removes pressure from the present. It allows a person to postpone responsibility without feeling guilty. Tomorrow feels safer than today because tomorrow does not demand action yet. But tomorrow is a moving target. When it arrives, it looks exactly like today, filled with the same doubts, distractions, and challenges. The circumstances rarely change on their own. Waiting for them to do so only strengthens the habit of delay. Fear plays a major role in postponement. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of discomfort, fear of not being good enough. Acting now means confronting these fears directly. Acting later feels safer because it keeps fear theoretical rather than real. But fear does not shrink when avoided, it grows. Each delay reinforces the belief that you are not ready, making the next step even harder. What begins as hesitation slowly becomes paralysis. Another reason people delay change is perfectionism. They want to start when they have clarity, confidence, and a flawless plan. This desire for perfection often leads to inaction. Progress does not require perfection, it requires movement. Starting imperfectly creates learning. Learning creates improvement. Improvement creates confidence. This sequence only works when action comes first. Those who wait for confidence before acting often wait forever. Delay also affects identity. When someone repeatedly tells themselves they will start later, they begin to see themselves as someone who does not follow through. This self-image becomes deeply ingrained. Over time, even simple actions feel heavy because they conflict with that identity. Acting now, even in a small way, disrupts this pattern. It sends a message to the mind that change is possible and that action is part of who you are. Change that begins now does not need to be dramatic. It can start with a single decision, a single habit, a single step forward. Small actions taken immediately are more powerful than large plans delayed indefinitely. Action creates momentum, and momentum reduces fear. Once movement begins, clarity follows. You do not need to see the entire path, you only need to take the next step. Acting now also sharpens awareness. Real engagement with the present reveals strengths and weaknesses that planning alone cannot. Mistakes become lessons rather than regrets. Feedback becomes immediate. Growth accelerates because learning is happening in real time. Waiting keeps everything hypothetical, while action turns ideas into experience. There is also a cost to waiting that often goes unnoticed. Every delay uses time that could have been used to improve, learn, or heal. Opportunities expire, energy changes, circumstances shift. Waiting is not neutral. It is an active choice to remain the same while time moves on. Many people reach a point in life where they realize that what they feared starting was never as painful as the regret of not starting at all. Acting now builds discipline. Discipline is not about force, it's about alignment. It is choosing what matters over what feels comfortable. Each time you act despite resistance, discipline strengthens. Over time, action becomes easier because the habit of action has been established. The struggle is greatest at the beginning, when inertia is strongest. Another powerful aspect of starting now is reclaiming control. Waiting places power outside yourself, in circumstances, emotions, or other people. Acting now brings power back into your hands. It reminds you that while you cannot control everything, you can control your response and your effort. This sense of agency builds confidence and reduces helplessness. The present moment is the only place where change can occur. The past cannot be altered, and the future does not exist yet. All effort, all growth, all transformation happens now. When a person understands this, they stop negotiating with time and start using it. They stop asking when they will begin and start deciding how they will begin. Change does not announce itself with perfect conditions. It begins quietly, often in moments of discomfort and uncertainty. Those who act now do not do so because they feel ready. They act because they understand that readiness is created through action, not waiting.